And welcome back to the Dean Obeidallah Show. We're live here Friday, January 20th. In the third hour every Friday, you know what happens. It's what just happened. As we look back at the insanity of the week, I got three great people. All have been on before. Rhonda Hansome is back, a national headlining comedian. She also an actress. She played Bermuda in the movie Pretty Woman, performed with the Muppets on Saturday Night Live. We were in Laughing Liberally together. She was one of the coordinators of it. And she's open for Anita Baker at Radio City Music Hall, Diana Ross at Constitution Hall, and people here on Monday on John Fugelsang's show right after my show every Monday night. Hey, Rhonda, nice to see you, my friend.
Delighted to be here and in such stellar company.
Really good. And also we got Tom McCaffrey's back, writer, comedian, lawyer. I didn't know lawyer, my friend, until I saw your bio. So
really?
Lawyers. He's appeared on Comedy Central, VH1, and he's got a brand new book out, Born Funny, a comics chronicle with the rise of alt comedy. Tom, welcome back, my friend.
Thank you. And I am a lawyer. That's not a George Santos thing.
You're not, so you really are a lawyer. Very good. So you got your law degree from Santos University. So, all right, good to see you, my friend. And also back, our friend Lizz Winstead is here just about every month. Great comedian, co-created The Daily Show on Comedy Central, creator of Abortion Access Front, also co-host of Feminist Buzzkill Live on YouTube. And they're doing an event right now as we're taping, so you're going to hear about this in the evening. Liz, what are you guys doing? Send in the gowns. Tell us about this.
So today kicks off the weekend of what would have been the anniversary of Roe v. Wade. And also there are hundreds of thousands of people celebrating their oppression victory lap in Washington, D.C. called the March for Life, anti-abortion extremists having their big rally. And so we decided that we were going to honor the memory of Roe v. Wade and counter the narrative of the March for Life. And activists from around the country all day long have been going physically to the offices of state legislators who have proposed or co-sponsored or passed anti-abortion legislation in hospital gowns with medical brochures demanding exams. And they're just going in and they're standing in the offices explaining their medical needs. How are they going to service them? Things like, if I start hemorrhaging in Walmart, do I call the after hours number here? At what point does my life factor in? Right. And they're not leaving until they're either escorted out or they move on to the next legislator's office. Conversely, those who aren't going in person are calling up and relentlessly calling these same legislators. Margaret Cho and Beth Stelling have allowed an Instagram takeover. So if you go to Margaret Cho's or Beth Stelling's Instagram, you will see two of the live actions in the state houses in Ohio and Tennessee. But we really just want to put politicians on notice. And this is day one of relentlessly saying, if you are going to act like doctors, expect that we're going to challenge your judgment, expect that we are going to demand that you actually have to think about, sadly, for the first time, the ramifications of the horrible laws that you have passed and how they're really harming people.
That's great. And using street action and some humor as well. And the visual. Yep. I hope you guys get a lot of press coverage for it because it's important, because it is the march. They did this now for, I guess, 50 years almost in DC on the anniversary of Roe v. Wade, or at least for the last modern era, they've been going there. But now Roe v. Wade's overturned. So Rhonda, these people are marching now. Are they coming for other things? Do you think their plan is, look, they can't stop, right? You have to give them red meat. So it's like, okay, we overturned Roe. Now we have to do a national abortion ban, or is it a contraception, or is it just controlling our lives in every day? What do you think their next goal is?
My understanding, the next goal is to require a death certificate to apply for Social Security.
You have to be dead to apply for Social Security? So there's going to be more and more extreme. I don't know.
That's like a catch-22.
It is. So, and Tom, what about you? What do you think they do next? Because you can't end a movement. A lot of people have grifted off this, have made money off these anti-choice people, and they have organizations. They keep like, okay, we won. How am I going to get paid this week? So they got to keep them engaged. What do you think they do?
Well, in terms of the next thing they get, I mean, I guess if you're asking, I guess contraception seems to be a thing that they're going after. They're going to go after next, and same-sex marriage, right? Isn't that kind of the thing that was kind of on the board after that? I think it's that thing that everyone keeps talking about where, when with this whole Roe v. Wade thing was when the dog finally catches the car. And I guess that's kind of what you're experiencing and seeing. But I've never seen a dog actually catch a car. So I don't know what that really looks like, but I guess it kind of looks like this. But
I hope is that they choke on their own exhaust.
As opposed, but if you think about the dog analogy for a second, that's like a fly catching a windshield, isn't it? Like it's not really good. Like
I feel like when a dog gets up to a car, they kind of just walk away and find something else to do. But I don't. Usually, when a dog catches a car, what they do next is they go after contraception. So
I've never seen a dog pursue a car, let alone catch.
Yeah, that's true.
In my life, I've seen dogs chase people, bite many things, but never the bumper.
Yeah, I don't know where this dog car obsession came about. I think George Santos claims to have come up with that.
I think his name might come up a lot today. Or
yeah,
his drag name. What was it, Katera? I'm not sure. Liz, so you tell us. So on a serious note,
yes, Katera Ravachi.
That's his drag name.
The amazing drag queen. Well, actually, I understand that Anthony DeValder, Anthony Zabrowski, and Katera Ravachi, known George Santos aliases, have filed a class action suit against George for defamation of character.
Because they're the one. The only thing that would be redeeming about him is that he did drag at one point. I'm like, well, there you go. Finally, something human that we could applaud. Everything else, I'm like, what a scumbag. But we'll get to him more. So, Liz, on a serious note, you're dealing with the anti-abortion extremists out there. What is their real next goal? Is it a national ban? Are they going to pressure, if they get control of the House and the Senate and the White House in the future, that kind of national legislation to ban it? Or is it
and I think and to everyone's point, it's never just been about abortion, right? I mean, the Hobby Lobby case that came before the Supreme Court 5 years ago was about birth control, and they won that case. And so I think that their goal is to literally remove all access to bodily autonomy and anything that helps those who are currently not in power retain in a vulnerable space so that they can't, position themselves with all of the tools they need to actually be part of the conversation and part of the power structure. What people need to realize with the March for Life is they present themselves as this respectability, pro-life place. Last year, they had every insurrectionist on stage with them, every person in Congress who is anti-abortion. They've marched with white nationalists. I'm talking about the Proud Boys. I'm talking about Patriot Front. The person who heads Priests for Life, who is part of their organizing committee and holds the rally that they have at the Supreme Court each year, was literally defrocked by the Pope this year for doing so much garbage, harming people at clinics. He did stole a fetus, had a mass in the name of Donald Trump.
What?
For abortion. If you Google Frank Pavone fetus on the altar, you can watch it.
But
so they've also had, speaking at their rallies, a person who was just given 14 years for trafficking child pornography, a guy named Ruben Verastigwe, who was just put away this year. The head of Texas Right to Life, also in some child porn situation. They are they are in league with every shitty butcher that's out there. White supremacist butchers, anti-abortion people, anti-LGBTQ, and you name it, they are there. So when you see them marching and they bus people in there from high schools and colleges, and it's the people that stole all those fetuses last year, remember them? They stole 115 fetuses from a company that takes all of the medical waste from abortions and then sterilizes it and disposes of it like every other clinic. Those people are active participants in the March for Life. So it's grifters, charlatans, misogynists, patriarchs, and all leagues of racists.
Sounds like a fun group.
They're a party.
The fetus hustlers. So let's talk about, and Tom, I'll start with you since you're a lawyer here. So we all recall last year, the Dobbs decision, which overturned Roe v. Wade, was leaked out. And Chief Justice Roberts said, we're going to get to the bottom of this. And Justice Alito said, our lives are put on the line by this stuff. So the Supreme Court did their investigation. They came out with their preliminary results yesterday. Apparently, they just had a nice woman in the office do the investigation. This is the Supreme Court. They didn't have the FBI. You could have had the FBI do it. You know, you really could have, because if you lied to an FBI agent, that's a crime. But they didn't. And according to the report, there is no evidence they spoke to any Supreme Court justice or a family member. So this investigation was like, they just went in the middle of us. Anybody know anything about that opinion thing? I mean,
well, who was in charge? It's like the marshal of the Supreme Court.
Right, seriously, it's like
basically,
HR.
but basically, like interviewing her bosses. Isn't that kind of what? Aren't the justices kind of like? Doesn't she work for them? So imagine if you were in charge of an investigation where you had to interrogate your boss. Like you're like, hey, just I'm about to go to lunch, but. Just, you know anything about this this most egregious leak in the history of the court? Anything about that? No? Okay, cool. By the way, can I talk to you later about a raise? That'd be
But they
cool.
didn't even talk to their bosses. That's the part that's hilarious. It's like actually putting like Barney Fife on SEAL Team 6. These people have no idea what they're doing. Also, the most hilarious thing, it's like, not only should they have probed these judges, they should have,
Anally.
Yeah, they should have made them have to wait 24 hours and then
That would get
listen
some
to the
answers.
heartbeat of every person that they listen to. But, the fact that Alito has a leaking past,
Yeah,
anti-abortion people came forward on the very case I was just talking about earlier, the Hobby Lobby case. An anti-abortion extremist came forward and said he was leaked information from Alito, or I guess Alico, maybe we should call him that.
Alico.
Alico, here we are with the puns, I'll always show up with a pun. But
What good radio is about, puns.
yeah, but also I feel like the first place I would have looked as the investigator is I would have investigated who was the person that flushed the toilet during COVID, remember those hearings? Remember one of the justices flushed their toilet during oral arguments? Yes.
Oh, I don't remember that. That's happened. So that happened during it's interesting. And what you
That happened during COVID. So it's like, who's ever flushing is the person that's the leak.
Flusher's the leaker? The flusher's the leaker.
Whoever,
The
this is the least thorough investigation. It's like, who was in charge of it? Merrick Garland?
Right. I mean,
Exactly. Dick Cheney.
This is, and by the way, what Liz was referencing, the New York Times did a really great article about this guy, Reverend Robert Schneck, who was one of the anti-abortion extremists. He sent a letter to Chief Justice Roberts last year when the leak happened saying, you know what, we got a heads up implicating Alito for Hobby Lobby. And we were able then on our group on the right wing extremist side to prepare for it, to do press, get everything rallied around it. And he did that and nothing. Like, I think the person, they probably had like a pizza Friday or something like, okay, everyone, pizza for everyone, but if you want toppings, you got to talk like that. Because Rhonda, what do you think? I mean, who do you think leaked it, and what's your take on this?
I think when Liz says they don't know what they're doing, they know exactly what they're doing. I mean, this is all designed to cause confusion, disinformation, finger pointing, and really to escape substantial investigation. I mean, this is the American way. I mean, Fauci's wife was head of watching over his department's ethics. I mean, Jenny Thomas is like, chartering buses to insurrectionists in Brasilia. I mean, this is crazy. And it's all meant as a distraction.
To be fair.
Okay.
There's so many Republicans being investigated right now. No one might have been available. They might have had to be like, the only people left that we can even ask are these people. They're the only people not investigating somebody in this.
It seems like a big matter, though. You would want to find someone who could get to the bottom of it.
Unless you knew who it was.
Right.
Unless you didn't want to get to the bottom of it.
Maybe it was Roberts.
The janitor might be available, Liz.
Yeah, look, no one doubts, none of us doubt, no one listening doubts. If they wanted to find out who did it, they would have found out.
100%.
They don't want to, they might know, or they don't want to know. It's bad, that kind of awkwardness there. We need the former head of Scotland Yard's, George Santos, to get on this case because he is really good. He invented the game Clue as well. I don't know if you knew that. So we're starting with Rhonda Hansome, Tom McCaffrey, and Lizz Winstead. So let's talk about more just outright insanity. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who literally did not believe 9/11 happened as reported, who said forest fires in California were caused by Jewish space lasers, is now going to be on the Homeland Security Committee to keep us safe. So someone who doesn't believe 9/11 happened is now on the committee to keep us safe from the next 9/11. So Rhonda, let me start with you on this. And what is going on? Just go ahead.
Everybody knows she was that hooded figure dragging a carry-on bag full of pipe bombs on January 6th.
Oh, you think
everyone knows that she was the one? And this is what I mean. Like the fox is guarding the hen house now. I mean, America has totally gone off the rails. I mean, it was never really straight, but now it's like it's off the rails, and we're proud. It's like throw our hands up in the air and go wee as we circle down the drain.
And also, Liz, they gave Paul Gosar, the far right congressman, his committee backs. He was banned from his committees by a bipartisan House vote because he released a video, an anime video, when he literally killed AOC. Not like he literally was depicted as murdering her. And now he's back on a committee. So what's the message there of Kevin McCarthy?
I mean, the message, Kevin McCarthy is such a careerist. It's like desperately wanting to get invited to a shit bath. And you'll do anything to get involved in this. Now you're at the shit, you're king of the shit bath. Congratulations. But the message that America should receive is Kevin McCarthy, the leader of this party, has decided that the most incompetent people and evil people and destructive people should be in charge of your life. And if you hate government, like this should be you hating government, right? This is the part to me where I don't understand. And maybe just because there's half of our nation is so stupid that they look at this as some kind of victory for whom I'm not exactly sure. But for those Republicans who, I guess it also just shows me, like we've always said, stop acting like there was ever good Republicans before, because there was not. They allowed this foundation to be happening. They allowed this foundation to be built. And now that a foundation is built and the orcs have now taken over, the silence is deafening.
I like that Kevin McCarthy said that his spine and testicles were not part of the secret grievances that he considered and committed himself to. And then he said there was no list of secret giveaways.
I know.
He's ridiculous. He's absolutely ridiculous.
You know, I want to say the only reason they put MGT in that position is because apparently Bin Laden wasn't available. So she was the next logical choice.
No, but Tom, you know what's interesting though? Politico had an article. Politico's the Bible. Politico had an article from Biden sources who said they were actually happy that Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, and one of the other way out there people, maybe it's Scott Perry or Gosar, are on the oversight committee. So they're the ones that are going to be questioning Biden administration officials and stuff. And they're like, well, this is great. America will see finally how bad they are. Do you think there's a chance the sunlight effect, sunlight's the greatest disinfectant, that the sunlight of people going like, wow, these people on committees actually works, or no?
You mean putting on, who is it? Gosar, Boebert, MGT.
Boebert and MTG and Marjorie Taylor Greene on oversight. And there's one other of those far right people.
It's a Jim Jordan.
Jim Jordan.
Jim Jordan. Well, he's chair of judiciary.
Well, so I do think, I think that, that might be another thing we were talking about with the dog catching the car and them getting what they want. It might not be a good thing. I don't know. Are people really going to, when they start doing that, when they start, doing investigations into investigators, are the American people, when things aren't getting solved and their lives aren't getting any better, are the people really going to be happy with that's what they're spending their time focusing on? The other thing that's funny about these committees is I guess they're going to subpoena people, but isn't it going to be people subpoenaing people who refuse to acknowledge subpoenas? Like Jim Jordan is going to be subpoenaed, but wasn't he the one who just kind of laughed off the subpoenas for the other committee? I I don't know. One thing I want to say about MGT in charge of the Homeland is like, it kind of reminds me, do you remember like the Altamont concert, Rolling Stones? It was like a famous concert where they had this brilliant idea to put the Hell's Angels in charge of security, and somehow that didn't go well.
Out, Tom. Yeah.
So that's kind of what that reminded me of when I heard about MGT.
MTG. And by the way, she's not chair. The chairs might be even worse. This guy, Congressman Green, this guy from Tennessee in 2017 was nominated to be Secretary of the Army by Donald Trump. He was only a Tennessee state rep then. And he had to withdraw his nomination because he had all these anti-gay and anti-Muslim comments. And even Lindsey Graham came out against him, and the late John McCain. And now he's chair. Just a few years later, it's not even seniority. Like, they just like, we like the cut of your jib, whatever. Like, you hate Muslims, you hate gay people, we're going to make you chair of Homeland Security. He literally is the chair of Homeland Security. And there's no business doing it other than he's a bigot and election denier and text shit to Mark Meadows about ideas to overturn the election. And when called out later, he goes, I was just forwarding things my constituents sent me. So your constituents were sending you plots to overturn our government. He was just forwarding them to Mark Meadows directly. You're kidding me. This is awful where we are. Let's talk about something that wasn't on my list, but Tom touched on it. How crappy is Merrick Garland? How much has he failed this nation? We are 2 years and 13 days from January 6th. I tweeted every day the countdown.
That's Mueller 2.0 now. We're going through that.
It's not even...
I think it's funny that Alec Baldwin's going to be the one who's in jail by the end of all this.
The guy who played Trump is going to jail more than the guy who actually is Trump. This is just
right. They brought charges against him faster than the guy who tried to overturn the government. So
hopefully his anger management coach won't be a witness.
My only thank God is that he is not on the Supreme Court.
I know that, I didn't know what a shit show he was.
But the thing is, Obama wanted him because he was going to be so palatable to everyone, and they rejected him. You should have known it was going to be this week.
I know. And it's just like, stop trying to appease these people. They cannot be appeased.
Exactly.
They are, professionally aggrieved. They believe that Democrats to their core are, illegitimate as humans, never mind as a party. So why you would try to appease them and allow Jim Jordan to now be the center of the party, just like on the Supreme Court, John Roberts is like the center of the court. When he was the most extremist justice in the history of our nation, when he was put on the court.
They need to take their cues a little bit from the other side, where there's just no shame in anything they do. They're just like, I'm doing it. I don't really give a shit. Here it comes.
I don't know. Democrats won't do that. But look, if Merrick Garland was on the Supreme Court, I think he would be siding with conservatives on various issues. Not all the issues. I know he's not far right, but he's moderate to center right, it would seem. And he wasn't, they say he was a member of the Federal Society. It's hard to say, but he does have a webpage as a contributor, seriously, on the Federal Society. Like, he moderated events and provided some content. So he's certainly at the best centrist. And Merrick Garland, the fact that he's not, look at Brazil, look how swiftly they're moving. They opened an investigation to Bolsonaro, the former head, within a week and a half by the Supreme Court approved it. They're talking about freezing Bolsonaro's assets. They arrested people who were involved in the government. Like, they're not playing. That sends a message. What does this message send? You could attempt a coup and we're not, 2 years, we're not going to get you.
The message is from Trump's new webinar, Sedition for Dummies. I did it. You can too.
That's it.
Well, now I'm glad that the focus is on Biden having some documents.
That's the story.
From when he was vice president.
Listen, Tom, I understand they found some confidential documents on his regular seat on Amtrak.
So he left it.
I was trying to explain to somebody why it's different between Biden and Trump. And first of all, I think white guys, stop taking shit that's not yours. Like, first of all, it wasn't yours. Stop taking it, whether you're Biden or Trump, that's fine. But if you just read the news stories, right? And you replace the term classified documents with dead bodies, it really resonates how different the two stories are. Joe Biden's lawyers found dead bodies, contacted people immediately. Donald Trump, they found dead bodies in storage units and at his house, and he claims they're his. And, it's like, oh.
They belong to him now.
They belong to him now.
Well, let
And
me
all of a
ask,
sudden, it's like it becomes very real.
And he
Okay,
killed
let me-
them with his mind.
Yes.
but Tom, let me ask you as a lawyer here. If they found, like in the case of Biden's, let's use the analogy, say like 16 dead bodies, and then they find Trump 300 dead bodies. Yeah, it's much worse. But if you had 16 dead bodies at your office and your house, it's still deeply alarming. I mean,
Well, no,
And
it's
very
it's
smelly too, Dean.
smelly, and they're there for like 7 years. No one looked for the people.
the
Like,
problem is that it's that thing where the Republicans they're so far gone. They do all these egregious, horrible things. Like once the Democrats do one thing, it's just kind of like, well, what about you guys? Like you guys did a thing too. So that's all everything comes down to. It's just literally the Democrats just have no margin of error. It's like one little thing and they're just going to jump all over. And that's the problem. You have someone like Merrick Garland who's not going to be aggressive and go after anything. And then on the other side, it's just like one little vulnerability and they just jump all over it and they make the story completely about that. It's it's hard to watch the news now after this whole Biden thing, honestly.
But also too, like just to add to that, they were saying it was a nothing burger when Trump did it, right? And so to add everything you just said, and then to have them say it was nothing, and then they changed their story to, oh, now Biden did and it's terrible and we're going to investigate it. It's like, again, to no surprise, which is it? Like, get your hate at least consistent.
No,
ask for that?
they refuse to be consistent because the discord and discombobulation is the point. It's to have everybody's head spinning and not even watching what's the next damn thing coming out of the pipe.
Well, what sucks too, it's just their new emails. That's the worst thing about it. It's going to be the new, that's all you're going to hear is, well, what about when he had these documents, and it's just like, it's emails all over again.
Basically, Congress is run by Hunter Biden, the administrators of Hunter Biden's OnlyFans page. And it's basically who's running Congress.
You have an OnlyFans page? That's going to be next. They're going to hear that.
Yeah.
Look, we call out the GOP's hypocrisy for one reason, because it doesn't change them. It's really for our own sanity. Because if we didn't call it out, then nothing matters. Nothing at all matters in this world. You're almost gaslighting yourself. There's no consistency. The truth doesn't matter. Morals don't matter. Nothing matters. And that's how the GOP playbook is. Nothing matters.
Can I ask you, why is Santos, though, the only one that everything seems to stick to? That he's the one, we were in this post-facts world, but now with him, everyone's jumping on every little, not every little thing. I know it's like insane because he's lied about everything, but it's interesting that he's the one that it's all kind of coming down on.
Well, because Santos finally admitted that he's actually Catholic and in line for the papacy.
He's in line. He's in third in line.
Yeah.
Wait, let's take a break and come back. We'll talk about George Santos. I always want to talk about Ron DeSantis banning African-American studies in high school because whites only. I don't really, there's no real good answer. We'll get to that and more. So let's take a quick break. We're going to come back with more of the Dean Obeidallah show right after this. You guys ready? We come right back. And welcome back to the Dean Obeidallah show. It is still Friday, January 20th, and we're continuing. Rhonda Hansome is here. Tom McCaffrey's here. Lizz Winstead. So you guys talk about, George Santos came up a lot. So let's talk about him. And Tom posed a question before the break. Why does it stick? I think part of it is that he admits to it, but also it is so fantastical. He is like a screenwriter, because it's one thing to say, I went to this school, whatever college is, and he said Baruch College.
Oh, Baruch.
But then he said he went to Baruch, but then he said he played volleyball. But not just that. Then he said he was a star. Then he said in a radio interview we heard that he was the shortest player on the team. Then he said the schools they played against, Harvard and Yale. And then he added that I had to get 2 knee surgeries. So this guy, he should be in Hollywood writing screenplays. I mean, the detail, like he is flushing a character out. That whatever character it is, if you're writing something, he is developing a three-dimensional character. So
maybe him and Steve Bannon can collaborate on some screenplay, because wasn't Bannon like a Hollywood writer guy?
Steve Bannon was a Hollywood writer. Lizz Winstead said her dog is going psycho. I can see in the chat here. Do you have to let your dog out, Liz? Your dog looks very calm there. All right, go let your dog out, Liz. I will continue chat with Rhonda and Tom. This is what happens in the real world. You know, it's not like cable news. We're going to leave the set. We're here just chatting among our friends here. So,
well, speaking of dogs, I just the whole Santos dog thing. I feel like that's been the one that has seemed to get people the most angry. What? The vet? I mean, it's just like, so basically he stole money from a dying dog. I didn't even know that was possible. I don't even it's weird how he's just like going above and beyond.
But not even just the dying dog. It was a homeless veteran's dying dog.
Every aspect is. I'm just waiting for the video of him clubbing baby seals at a kid's birthday party to come out.
Well, the dog thing I think is also getting traction because the guy is going on cable news and talking, right? So then you have a face of a guy who's very thoughtful. I said, the dog. It almost, when I watched the guy yesterday, I saw a clip on CNN. There was part of me having a tough time believing that guy because I'm like, this is so over the top what he did to you. I wonder if Santos sent you, because all you need is one of these things not to be real. And you're like, well, was the other things lies about Santos? Because it was so and I had no money, but then I went back and I was homeless at the time. And then I posted on Facebook about it. And you're like, you were homeless, but you had Facebook, which is free. I get it. You can go to anywhere, public library and do it. But you start getting to things. I'm like, is this too much? Like the pylon where the point where people just tune out. That's because I think yesterday I got a little bit of traction. It was that his mother, he had claimed his mother was on the World Trade Center on 9/11 and then died from health complications later. And it turns out she was actually in Brazil on 9/11. To me, that's one that sticks. Because what a scumbag to use 9/11. And you're a New York congressman where people in his district lost people because that's the suburbs of New York City. And there are people who work down in the World Trade Center. That's really a really bad one too. And that's immediate.
There's no prolific. He's international. I mean, what was he kiting checks? Fraudulent checks in Brazil. I mean, he is so imaginative. I don't even know what he could accomplish if he used his powers for good.
I think he's one of those guys, first of all, everyone has known someone like this when they were in school, just the person who just everything they say is just so out there and fantastical that you're just like, what are you, but I think he's one of those guys where he can't even keep track. It's like he convinces himself that these things are real. And the 9/11 thing is odd to me just because I don't know how that helps you win a campaign. Just that.
Well, he's crazy if he chooses to put all these things in that don't even add to his viability as a candidate.
Are people voting for someone because they're like, oh wait, all right, I didn't know about this guy, but he had a relative who was in the tower 9/11 and left. Okay,
what does that say about the opposition research? The opposition research is for crap. I mean, not one of these things came up during debates. None of these things came up during campaigns. Not one.
Well, then, was a local newspaper that finally broke the story, and
they broke one during the campaign because I wrote about it afterwards.
I mean, they got Bernie Madoff after 3 investigations. I mean, this is crazy.
By the way, the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee's opposition research, which was actually online, and I read it. They actually misled the Democratic candidate. In it, there's no joke. They said that he graduated from Baruch. They said he did work at Citigroup. They did say he worked at another finance firm. They couldn't say dates unknown, but they told the Democratic candidate who's running, who gets the opposition research from Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, yeah, he went there. So why would they follow up? So the error started with the DCCC. It's called the DCCC in DC, who should have done a better job. But look, local journalism being dead is another part. You have media consolidation where you have no robust local papers. You have that one little teeny handout paper, and Newsday didn't even run with it. Newsday, which is a bigger Long Island, and no one. And
this is sickening, Dean. We don't even need bone saws anymore for journalism to be dead.
Oh, interesting. That's very well done. So you're back, Liz. How is your dog? You're muted, Liz, so now I can't hear you. Now you're just
I know. Sorry. The dog just was going bananas. The dog's outside.
The dog heard the name Santos and went nuts.
I mean, did I say dog? I meant George Santos. I had to let George Santos out because he was going bananas and
because he can shapeshift into dogs. Well, I've heard.
He's a furry. Let's just put that into the mix. George Santos.
I'm sure he is. Yeah.
Well,
he loves dragging. He's a furry.
We mentioned Kevin McCarthy earlier. Kevin McCarthy last week defended George Santos, saying Democrats embellished, which is a whole different. This is I talk about this guy. He's a self-made up man. We've never seen this. But he's not called. At least the Republicans on Long Island had a press conference and called for him to resign, including elected officials. McCarthy's like, nope, I need your vote, because the speakership hangs by a thread of a vote. Any one person can trigger a new no confidence vote and a whole new thing until there's a 4-vote margin. If Santos goes, Democrats pick up that seat in the special election. There's no doubt. It's already Democratic leaning. He's down to 3. They don't care. You know, we talked earlier, shame and be like them. I don't think we could be like this. There are certain people, as even Democrat, you got to be like, come on, you got to go.
But also, don't you
what we have is Trumpism, and we don't even need Trump for it anymore. He gave the playbook, and it is deny, lie, and then double down.
And they don't even care, like it seems like there's not even curiosity about, we know who George Santos isn't, but don't you want to get a gauge of like who the dude is? Like did he, because that's the part that's so wild to me is that they don't even care who he is and what he did.
Has anybody interviewed his wife, his ex-wife, before he came out as gay?
No, I haven't heard that. That's interesting.
Was he married? I didn't even know he was married.
He was married.
He was married.
First of all, how old is he? How has he done all these things?
Because he's a hologram. He's not even a real person.
There is a book deal.
I have a theory that he's Kaiser Sose. That's what I think.
Let's be honest. There's going to be a book deal when he's going to leave. He'll get some big money book deal. He can host a show on Netflix. He is intriguing. Like, your mind, what a serial liar. So he'll be fine in the long run. Congress won't be. Santos will be. So let's shift gears. And I can see, because we're doing this live by Zoom, so I can see Rhonda and Liz. Liz is dressed appropriately for this show. Rhonda, I'm sorry, I can see your shoulders, and you're not, because in Missouri, if you were in the Missouri State Legislature, you would be banned. I'm not kidding, from wearing that outfit because your shoulders. And just so people don't know, this really happened. Adopted Wednesday, a new dress code. The Republican legislatures there, it's overwhelmingly Republican, and that women have to be required to cover their shoulders when they come into the chamber, because we're going backwards in time, just so it's clear. It's not enough with abortion. We are really going back to 1800 shit here.
And Kristen Sinema would not be able to visit that place with her spaghetti straps and sequins.
And you couldn't with what you're wearing. And a Democratic state rep put it really well. Ashley Aune said, on the floor, she goes, do you know what it feels like to have a bunch of men in this room looking at your top and deciding whether it's appropriate or not? And I'm like, what a great way of putting it. So Liz, let's start with you, my friend. Is this in your bigger picture? Is this intertwined with oppressing women and the idea of you can't control your own reproductive freedom, and now we're going to control the way you dress? Is all intertwined as one?
It's all intertwined, but also it's setting a standard that says patriarchal attire is the way that you govern, but also more damage has been done by guys in suits and people, than anybody in a fucking sweater set. I can tell you that for sure.
The idea, Rhonda, what's your reaction to these? Essentially, it's mostly men who said, women, you have to dress like this if you want to come in here. There's no dress code for men. Men, I think there's some minor thing. They couldn't come in shirtless.
They should insist that Jim Jordan not be able to roll up his sleeves ever again and always have several jackets on.
Yeah,
that
exactly. I was going to say Jim Jordan should be required to wear a jacket, because
several jackets. We should never see his forearms ever again.
He can borrow one from Steve Bannon.
He's a snappy dresser, Steve Bannon. He looks like he died years ago. Like, he'll do well in prison. I think they should go shirts and skins. Like, that's the way you should go. You want to debate shirts on one side, skins on the other? Let's do this.
First of all, I just want to say, whatever happened to the right to bear arms? Sorry.
No, it's funny you said it. One of the Democrats said that these Republicans are all about the right to bear arms when it comes to guns, but not to women. Think about this. All jokes aside, you had 2023 Republican, primarily men in this chamber, voting to say, women, this is the way you have to dress if you want to come here and talk about legislation. You're elected officials. You're elected by the people. And they're going to you have to wear this outfit or your vote doesn't matter and you can't be heard on the floor. How effed up is this?
Missouri also is one of the most garbage states that we don't talk about enough.
Okay, let's.
Isn't that
their slogan?
Yes, one of the garbage state we don't talk about enough.
Right on the license, I like that.
Oppressing the bush in Anheuser-Busch. But There's a guy named Mike Moon in their state house who proposed, this is so gross, proposed an all-out abortion ban in Missouri, because Missouri was the first state to have only one clinic, abolish it, wanted 2 transvaginal ultrasounds, wanted to punish people who went across state lines. They're a mess. Mike Moon, he literally proposed an all-out abortion ban while disemboweling a chicken on video. He is a poultry farmer and was getting to the, he said he was getting to the heart of the matter by taking apart a chicken and pulling out the heart of the chicken while proposing his abortion ban. It's on YouTube. Feel free to watch it. I come here with all the fun. You know what I mean?
He ripped a heart out of a chicken. Did he eat the heart? Did he just show it off? This sounds like something.
No, he wasn't Madison Cawthorn, which I don't know if you all saw the video of Madison Cawthorn this week eating raw food that he shot. He literally shot an animal and then had like war paint on his face and then ate the kill.
Was a feather duster involved?
I'm not going to miss Madison Cawthorn. There's one. I wish Boba, 500 plus votes. Adam Frisch almost beat her. He had been on my show. It would have been so great to get if she was gone as well. These are some interesting days. So, Shannon, what just happened with our friends Rhonda Hansome, Tom McCaffrey, and Lizz Winstead? So let's talk about something, the heir, the prince in the GOP, Dark Dynasty, Ron DeSantis. This week, based on his critical race theory law, which is just bullshit, they banned, and it's a not-for-profit organization, the College Board that oversees these advanced placement courses. They banned advanced placement African-American studies in Florida, and the Department of Education, which Ron DeSantis controls, said it was contrary to Florida law and, quote, significantly lacks educational value. Yet when pressed by the media and Democratic legislators, where did it violate the law? They wouldn't give any answers. They didn't give any explanation whatsoever. So it's just like, hey, they're teaching black stuff. So that's it. You know, don't say gay law. This is the new don't say black law. This is where we are. So Rhonda, let's start with you. What is the fear of white people learning about African-American achievement and African-American suffering?
Well, they fear that they won't be able to go back to our being 3/5 of a person. And I think that's the eventual goal. And we really are in a state of erasing Native foundational Black Americans from this country, from the history, and the absolute truth of the white supremacist desecration of thriving Black enclaves, the outright Jim Crow, Black codes, lynching, redlining. Do you know, I just posted today that when I used to watch these Leave It to Beaver and the Donna Reed show, and I used to wonder why there were no Black people in these lovely suburban towns like Levittown, and I realized they had all signed racial covenants. These were all places that were built on racial covenants denying selling, buying, leasing to Black people. They want to go all the way back to where we are totally eliminated because we were not meant to survive being free labor, being available for whatever was needed without payment.
That was great, Rhonda. I really appreciate that. And I agree with you. And you're absolutely right. When you talk about the towns like Levittown and stuff, they were built with racial covenants in there, upheld by the courts, that only white people can buy the land. And even in New York, there were developments here. There's a great book about the history of the government enforcing these restrictive covenants. And they were. And that's where the best argument for me about compensation, whatever term you want to use, I call it compensation as a lawyer, that Black people suffered government state action in enforcing discrimination. And that's where the government has to repay Black people. And
that's the thing that people miss when they go, I never owned slaves. There's no slavery now. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And they don't understand that this is a 360-degree systemic thing. It's in medicine, it's in law, it's in education, it's in religion, it's in war, that all of these things were built in to keep us in this low caste system because we were not meant to survive.
That's very interesting. Liz, I mean, the law, the critical race theory law literally says that it bans anything that causes students discomfort. and in terms of schooling, which, you know.
Well, then you better ban the Bible because that lake of fire shit's pretty disconcerting.
Or you better ban
You know?
math, because that always made
Math.
me feel really uncomfortable.
Geometry's got algebra, just oppressive as shit. But Liz, I mean, when you have this level of white victimhood, where if you hear about anything bad a white person did or a Black achievement makes them uncomfortable, it's one and the other. And it's kind of remarkable to see this in 2022, 2023, that we are really a fight to go backwards. And your struggle for women's reproductive freedom really, in a way, encapsulates it. It is where they want to go backwards on everything, every single.
Well, I mean, what kind of, not to mention just the whole racist, you know, sexist, misogynistic, patriarchal worldview they want to have. They also don't want to compromise. They're childish. Like, all things are painful in this world. And to try to mitigate just living in the world and not experiencing pain and growth, and how do you ever create a better society if you do not learn from its evils to correct what it has done? How do you don't? And so
no, the goal is not to create a better society. If you are dealing with the situation where the foundation is white privilege, there's no place to go. It is only maintaining that system.
Right. And so if people want to maintain the system and keep voting for, because the truth be told, we can shit on the Ron DeSantises all day long of the world, but the well-meaning white people who don't prioritize this shit and understand that, like, you have to pay attention and do it, then we're just going to be in the same thing. And, you know, you have to remove these people, and it can't just be people of color bringing up what white people did. White people need to fucking correct the shit they've started. The good, well-meaning white people.
Well, I'd like to chime in on this.
Foundationally do it.
Being a white man.
Those good, well-meaning white people are all meeting in a phone booth on 43rd Street.
Well, I think everyone's anxious to hear my opinion because I'm a white man. So
right. White male splain. Go ahead.
The thing about making people, I don't know what's, you know, I know this has been a big, you know, issue for, I don't know, with this generation of, like, you know, kids feeling uncomfortable and, well, you know, why, you know, I feel uncomfortable and I'm triggered. And I don't know, I just feel like you know, you need to start teaching kids, like, that life is very uncomfortable most of the time, and you just need to kind of be okay with being uncomfortable. That's sort of, I feel like my generation, we were uncomfortable basically all of the time. And, you know, I was triggered all the time. So you just kind of have to learn to deal with it and let, you know, and sit with it.
That's right. All right. So we're out of time, but I want, Tom, where can people find your book, Born Funny, a comics chronicle through the rise of alt comedy, and follow more about you?
Well, it's available on Amazon. That's where most people are buying it, but it's on, you know, Target and Barnes and Noble and all that stuff. And my website is tomcmccaffrey.com, and Tom McCaffrey 722 Instagram and Twitter, just Tom McCaffrey. So if you're bored, check that stuff out.
Check it. And Rhonda, what about you, my friend? If people want to follow you,
for the old out of touch people, they can see me on Facebook at Rhonda Hansome Comedy, Rhonda Hansome Comedy on Facebook, and Rhonda Full, that's with 2 L's on IG, and at Rhonda Hansome, that's like a handsome man without the D, on Twitter, at Rhonda Hansome on Twitter.
And my friend Liz?
I mean, you can find me personally on all the socials at Lizz Winstead. I spelled my name with 2 Z's, and follow my org. And please check out the actions that happened today with the hashtag Send In The Gowns. But you can follow Abortion Access Front at Abortion Front on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook.
I love those glasses. Where can I find those?
You can find these at
see them. It's by Zoom, but they are look. Everyone's got glasses. All three of you have glasses. They look cool. I have to get glasses next time. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you. This is really fun and fast.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Sorry, my dog disrupted.
That's fine. Thanks.
No,
guys.
that was the highlight.
I appreciate it, guys. Have a great day, my friends.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. You too.